Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. It was a short notice webinar that we arranged, so we didn't broadcast it too wide because we also want to, it's a difficult time in a short week, so thank you for each and everyone for your time. So, yeah, I think what we're going to do is I'm just going to go through it. It's quite a big one, so this is the introduction to the PV vacuum plan. And we focus basically on the DC danger zone. So I know some of them might be from King Price, some of them might be maybe from the city of Tshwane. We welcome each one of you, and if you doesn't matter where you're from, we welcome you. It's very important for us just to record this, to send it out when people are able to look at it. So I'm going to try to go as quickly as possible through it. We're going to stop in the half of this evacuation plan because it's quite comprehensive. Lots of detail in it, but yeah, it's really to make everything safe. So yeah, but I think let me quickly go through it as fast as I can, and if there's any questions, you can put it in the chats, and then we can answer it afterwards, and we can also, I want to try to get to questions and answers. So just a thing that you must maybe take note of: on the 4th of September, we just struggled to get exactly this the venue, but we will have the first PV safety conference, safety risk and maintenance conference. There's also a new body that we're busy putting out, so which is called PASRAM. That's basically standing for PV Association for Safety, Risk and Maintenance. We just feel there's a gap, especially from the DC side, from the PV combiner box up. And yeah, try to make a difference. Try, really put safety first. Thanks for those who just came in. So on the 4th of September, that will be, there's already some forms, but yeah, just ask us for information. So yeah, it's just a notice on that. And then, yeah, so what is the danger zone? So the definition of the danger zone is basically something that you don't really always see, but we really focus on the DC danger zone. In the solar PV installation, refers to any area where direct currents, DC, cables or components from the solar panels remain energized when exposed to light, regardless of the status of the building's main power. So while there's sun, there's always power on it. We saw the evacuation came actually from me and Richard when we visited the school, and we saw these type of things that is not always. Just want to put the laser on. Doesn't matter, but we need to take note of this, and that's why we say it needs to be adjusted. Just some key considerations is there's a continuous hazard. Doesn't matter what, that the panels will always be live. The location matters. So the installers takes a short route to the inverter room. Depends where the inverter room is. Competition is harsh on the installers. They have to do it in a way, but sometimes they cross pathways. That's on an evacuation plan. They don't know what your evacuation plan is, so to take that in considerations. And the emergency risks. Where do you switch it off? What can you do? So it goes all around that. And the visibility and marketing, and the markings, that's so important. So we see it quite a lot on AC products where we see danger, but we don't really see it with PV, and we think there's really a gap for that. And then to get your evacuation planning, you might have to consider it and look after that because you've got a PV installed in your system. None of this is our own best practice that we say for safety for the people in the workplace. It is in regulations, actually, if you look at all the laws. But yeah, so basically, some people might think they know it already, but for people who don't know, this is a solar cell. When there's solar sun, those electrons will keep on pushing. Doesn't matter where. Even if you switch it off at a certain point, there will always be live wires there. So basically, you get two main systems. They can split up in lots of things, and everything differ. But you will always get the sun, and you will get your DC current that goes to your DC connect or your combiner box. Get your inverter. This is a grid tie, so this feeds directly into your AC. If everything is switched off, it will switch off to a certain point. I don't know if I can. So if you switch it off, it will switch off to this to here. Or basically to here, but it all depends on each building. All these wires will always be live, so that leaves a big gap. So this is more the ones that we get here in South Africa, is the hybrid or the standalone or whatever you call it. Simple, the same solar will always be live. You might have a DC combiner box here, but everything there will be live, and your charge controller and your inverter and a battery. Batteries is another problem, but we try to focus from here up. These are really covered by other associations and other people. We try to fill the gap here. More or less how your system also looks, just briefly, there's your solar panels. Here's a switch. They call it the rapid shutdown switch. We imported some of them. We looked at it. I think there's a place for it, but it's not a tier 1 solution. So this you can put as close up to your panels, but all the wires, even there, will be live. There's quite a lot of voltage. We will go through it, what it is. But normally, in what we normally see in South Africa, all the way down, it would be in your house, maybe it's next to your, most of the people put it next to your DB, and your DB sometimes is in your hallway. So where there's all these wires go, and they are all live. This is just going to be an introduction. I think some of the people saw this before, but I think it's a very good video just to explain exactly what the risk is and how solar panel and DC current behave. Why does it want to play? Okay, sorry, let me just go here. So there's two screens here.
Why PV safety matters. Across rooftops and open fields, solar panels promise a cleaner future. But behind that promise lies a powerful, often misunderstood force: direct current electricity. When things go wrong, they go wrong silently and fast. These images aren't from far-off disasters. They're real examples of what can happen when PV systems are not installed correctly, when safety protocols are skipped, or when no one was prepared to respond. DC arcing is invisible until it's catastrophic. Once it starts, it can't be stopped with a regular circuit breaker. The sun becomes the source of power, and unless it's blocked, the flow continues. First responders often hesitate, not because they lack bravery, but because they aren't trained for solar risks. That's why we're here. To raise awareness, to share what we know, and to help every stakeholder, from insurers and engineers to safety officers and fire chiefs, understand the real risks and how to make PV systems safe. This isn't about products, it's about prevention.
Okay.
Why P?
All right. So the dangers is it's clear. The moment there's sun, it's persistent. There's a danger with the DC current, and even when the building's power is shut off, the current will still be there. Okay, the lethal voltage and ampage. I think most of the people might be familiar, but sometimes we don't really realize how little amps you need to be fatal. It all depends on everything, but it is actually scary if you think it. The human body can be seriously injured or killed by low currents. So about 50 to 100 milliamps that can go through the heart can be fatal. So DC voltage above 120 volt DC are considered to be highly dangerous. And so our systems that we normally get from the smaller systems around about 250 volts and up to 1,000. The bigger systems, the warehouses, those goes to up to 1,500 volts DC. So yeah, there's enough volts and there's enough amps in certain conditions, but your circumstances, you can never choose that. So you have to mitigate the risks. So yeah, the real killer is basically the current, not the voltage. One milliamp is a tingling sensation. You can feel it. You will pull away. All depends, your skin is actually a very good isolator, so we don't realize it, but as soon as there's water involved, then it's something else. So 20 milliamps can start with muscle contractions. 50 to 100, that is where it gets to the heart and can be fatal. And above 100 can give severe burns, tissue damage, or even fatality. So yeah, wet skin, cuts, metal tools dramatically increase these things. So the problem we have, there's no 0 point when there's daylight, and even artificial light also produces electricity. So unlike AC circuits, DC cannot be instantly turned off at the panel source, and this remains the risk, and that's always present. So a problem that we've got at this stage, we try to help the insurance companies as well and with other stakeholders as well, is where's the stats? We don't always see the stats. You have to dig deep for it because there's no way that we can really report it. So we would love to see it worldwide. We try to get to a point where incidents needs to be addressed and reported correctly so that we can see where the problems is and how to make it safer, because solar is here and solar is going to be here for the next, we've got targets for 2030 and 2050, and it's quite big, so it's not going to go anywhere. This is going to be part of our life, so we really need to protect lives for first responders right through to your child at home. So minor shocks is not taken seriously. We know through medical people will tell you that a minor shock, there's symptoms and all those things can be seen later. It's not always directly, but even minor shocks, nobody reports it. There's no standard for reporting, and the other problem is there's mistakes being made, and nobody wants to take responsibility for it. So nobody wants to really go and report it. This leads to false sense of security and lack of data for security improvements. So the key message is even a small solar system installation can present a deadly risk due to the high voltage, DC voltage, and every incident must be reported and investigated to improve safety. Education is very clear. That's what we really try to do. Clear marking and strict safety protocols are essential. This is something that we generated. If I have to try and see, I would love to have a yellow line, and I would love to know which string goes to which combiner box. This is what we really would love to see. Yes, just some some fatalities in the PV system. You have to browse deep through it, but there's definitely. So luckily the database in America is quite, you can go to all incidents online. Anybody in the whole world can look at it. So it was now on the 6th of September 2023. It was basically, the employer was working, connecting strings and of the generating panels. The employee came in contact with the string contact and got electrocuted. The employee was killed by simply a touch. Maybe his hands was wet, doesn't matter, but it happens. There's another one, also in the USA. I think I put the same one in here, but there's two of them that I could get there. Hong Kong, 38-year-old man, electrocuted, found unconscious in the building. Victim produced dead soon when he arrived at the hospital. This was in Singapore. Their safety protocols is very strict there as well. A guy, it was in wet weather. He went the fatality. On a manner, also another guy. Where was this? I cannot remember. It was the second incident of death with solar panels and in the district in recent days. So I think that's the same. I don't know, it's 3rd of July. So you don't get the other people. You don't see it somewhere. So this was the second guy in a few days. This was the smallest system that we could find, basically, that we've got proof of. It was a man that passed away. It was only on a caravan or camper, 2 panels, 24 volts, working on his air conditioning, and it was in Dubai. Work on his air conditioning, touched the solar panels, and he passed away. Unnecessary. Okay, that was a good introduction why we think that the DC danger zone is very important. So what it's all about is basically we really feel for public and commercial buildings, even for homeowners, but especially for public and homeowners. Just as a disclaimer, this is not in regulations. This is good practice. We just identify a gap and we try. This is just an add-on. We're not saying we replace yours. We just feel that there's a real gap. There's a whole disclaimer about it. This is just guidelines. So this is not something that to replace the normal certain, the regulations or anything. It's just we need to step in and say, listen, there's an add-on here that you must look at. We got to a school as well. They just did the evacuation plan the previous day with the people that signed it off and everything. And the next day we got there and we showed it to them, and they said that they didn't even realize, they didn't see it. They just did the whole thing. So we would really love to get people to notice about it. So the emergency plan for commercial buildings and the PV safety, so the introduction, so it all aligns basically with your Occupational Health and Safety Act and also with your SANS 10400T, the fire protection. It's important to update your evacuation plan. School, businesses, and everybody. The occupational health mandates safe working conditions and emergency actions planned, but lack details of the plans, but lacks detailed evacuation procedures. So the Act says it mandates it, but it's difficult to see it. It provides specific guidelines. It focuses on the safety, and it outlines the roles and responsibilities. There's one thing. This is the PV safety officer that we would love to see in the market. Emphasis regular training, and it includes the management. But we'll go through it, and we really feel that we try to fill the gap as well. That you can work together with your fire department. They are just as part of this, and we would love to have them involved as well. So the scope is just for basically for schools, businesses, public spaces. Uh, it covers vast areas, emergency response for PV systems, the evacuation procedures, the roles and responsibilities, the coordination with the collaboration and coordination with the emergency services, communication plan, safe equipment and signage, and also training and drills. These are also important, and regular reviews and updates. You cannot practice it or you cannot update it. Once you see there's a problem, you have to update it. This is now basically in paper form. We'll go through it, but we're busy creating it on web-based. We actually did it to a server. We would love to have an API to the first responders so that when they get on site, they will know exactly what they are facing. And then we're also creating an app for it that even the school children, and will have the app. Everybody will have the app. So this is really a vision for us. We're busy with it. We got far with it, but it's not there yet. So why is it crucial to fill out this PV evacuation plan? Because nobody really knows exactly what is installed on your premises. So you put all the information on one document, so you've got everything with you. It's on a digital form as well, then if you want. So this is basically, and it's fillable. You can print it out. You can add it with your PV evacuation plan. And yeah, so we will soon roll out the web-based and the app format as well. It's more than just a form, but it's very important to take the form into action. It outlines the key responsibilities for each person. It ensures the clarity, the procedures. It's a step-by-step instruction, and it links you with the emergency services. Hopefully, we really feel that's important as well. And it just has to be comprehensive, developing for the future. And yeah, so there's lots of things in it, but I don't want to go to all the fine print. So this is basically how it will look, introduction to it. The first form that you will fill in is basically all your own information, your address, and also for us, what we saw as well at some places, we saw the gate, and we were thinking if they call the fire department, I've got no idea how those trucks is going to get in there, So also have a drop there. So we all looked at all these things. So the commissioning date, you will upload your compliance certificate. Everything will be then on it. So that is basically, I know it's a bit small, but we will see. We're at this stage, we're not there really for the money. So for these people here, we would love to give you at least a PDF document, maybe. So yeah, if you really would love to see it and test it and implement it somewhere, then you are welcome to ask. But this is basically what it will be like. I think we've got a video here. So this video will just show you more or less how the fillable form is. Does it play? So all your information you put in, so you can just normal PDF on any computer, even on your cell phone, you can just simply add it in and it will be there. If something changed, you can update it. There's even small videos that you can see, so that you can just see how to upload your location on Google Maps. So for instance, you go to your place, you don't do a pin drop, you do the exact pin drop there. I know there's other technologies that we also maybe implement that's more accurate, but for now that will at least help. Your commissioning date, you put everything in, when was it commissioned, all those things you put into this evacuation plan. There's links that can tell you about the SANS codes and everything, how to upload a file, any PDF file. So you create basically on your own OneDrive or your own system, you create a link so that if you click on that link, it will open. Most of the time, some of the people, your installers and everybody wants the information of your system. How big is it? Well, you've got no idea. You will always have it available. So the part two is basically the important part as well, is your PV system. Most of the information you'll get from the COC certificate or from your installer. We see quite a lot of we work with big people in the industry, solar cleaners. Nobody has the plans there, and we feel that's not acceptable. So this is basically all your general information will be there from your inverter, on your PV system, your inverter capacity, how many phases, battery type, where, the capacity of the batteries, your panels, everything. You put everything on there. It looks like quite a lot of things to do, but you want all this information in one place, and I think really this fills the gap. So the next one will be basically on your panels, and there's your inverter information, and then also you get your modules, all your modules. What this is basically following is basically the first step is to develop a detailed action plan, to engage with your local fire department, to assign the roles and responsibilities. Most of these things will maybe be in place, but you can just fill it in. Install safety equipment and signage, where I think that's a gap. You conduct regular training and drills, make sure, update it, especially when the app comes out. I think the people will actually, when you give a kid an app where he can be part of the evacuation plan, maybe they will start enjoying it. And then we've got the light blocking coating to de-energize your system. That's very important. To conduct the risk assessment, to see everything, and to develop and maintain the documentation, and also to review it and to update it regularly as it changes. So there's basically a few things that the next step will be. Basically all these that I talk about is how do you go around all these steps. And then again, the roles and responsibilities for each one: the evacuation coordinator, the 4 floor wardens, the first responders, the PV safety officer. So this is basically, it goes all around the PV safety officer. That's not really in the market, that we want to train, that there's a PV safety officer that knows the system, that can take responsibility of that. Communications officer, the building maintenance, the school or administrator, the teachers department of the heads, or the CEO, students, employees, and your local fire services. So everybody has its role, and we explain basically what most of the roles are. Like I say, it's not replacing anything, but we just want to add most of it there so that it is in a file. If you don't know what your responsibility, if you forgot, you've got it maybe on your phone, or hopefully you've saved it on your phone. It's on your phone. You can go and have a look at it. The app will basically put it for you in front of you. You've got to do this now. You've got to do that now for each one. So there's also the other roles and responsibilities. And so then we get, this is also very important, to put all the emergency services contacts on one paper, so everybody has access to it as well. It goes right through from the floor wardens, everybody's information on there, to the first responders, to everybody, right through the building maintenance staff, the business or the school administrator. Everybody's information we put on here. The local fire services, the police department, the utility, the solar, the electrical contractor, and very important to keep it updated if somebody changes, to keep it updated. This is where I just want to focus. Like I say, the PV safety officer, what we want from him is to monitor and maintain the solar PV system. or look that it's maintained, know what's the maintenance schedule, make sure that that is followed. Maintenance is very important for a PV system, something that we really don't see. We see solar panel cleaning, and that's it. And if you get up to a roof and you see it, then you will realize that we've got trouble coming in the future. Ensure all safety measures and the rapid shutdown devices are functionally and correctly if there's rapid shutdowns, and conduct the regular risk assessment for the PV system. Keep on seeing where's risks and get the staff to fix those risks. We want to train them to see, they must know how to look forward. Provide training on the PV system safety to the others. Provide training on PV systems safety to other staff members. So he will have to let everybody know and to de-energize the PV system during emergency if it is safe to do so. Working at heights is very important. We cannot put anybody at risk, but at least he will collaborate with the fire department when they come. If they've got, where do you switch it off, or if he could or you couldn't, if it was already full of smoke, you cannot enter. Evacuation is then important, but try to make it as fast as possible. Time is of essence. So we even go through this is basically is to say, listen, this is the risk of a solar system, and this is how you follow it. This is step 1, step 2, step 3. This is how you do it. The light blocking coating, or this rapid shutdown. How do you deactivate the batteries? Most of the people, there's a fuse, but do the people know how to pull it? It will be beneficial to do that when there's a fire or any emergency, flooding, doesn't matter, to do it in any way, and to how to get to the danger zones. So that's very comprehensive. Just this is basically one of the products that we import. We don't always want to do a product push, but it is the only product in the world basically that can de-energize your panels on a tier 1 level, that can block the sun. They've got the IP on it, but most of you might be familiar, but let's just watch the videos for those who didn't watch it before.
Note the number of light globes connected to the demonstration unit, allowing you to see that the system is under an electrical load. This dashboard will measure in real time the reduction of power as PV Stop is applied. The first step is to spray PV Stop horizontally across the centre of a panel array. Note that even the panels are only partially covered. The output is reduced to safe levels in a matter of seconds, and the light globes switch off.
The next step is to completely cover the panels, giving you additional peace of mind that the system is totally safe. With an air temperature of 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit, PV Stop is touch dry within minutes and creates a waterproof coating. Once completely dry, peel it off, or it can sit on your panels for up to 12 months or until you're ready to reactivate your system again.
I think now it's going to start again. I don't know why it always does that. So yeah, that is a brilliant product to de-energize your system as fast as possible. Early detection, prevention is first, early detection, and then if that's not there, to be able to de-energize safely. This is just also a procedure that we try to put down how the PV evacuation plan will work with your PV safety officer to use the light blocking code. I think the next slide is a bit better. What the occupants is, the alarm, how does this work? It's just a procedure. But the PV safety, use the light blocking coating to de-energize if it's safe to do so. So inform your fire department, tell them everything you know about your PV system, disconnect the battery, disconnect the load from the PV panels on the combiner box, switch everything off. If it's not safe to do so, you can't do that. You don't have aspirators. You can either guide the fire department or you've got to evacuate. That's then too late. But if you can act fast on this, you make it safe, you will save lives. You can save the lives of the first responders as well. Is very important for us. That's why this product was developed for. Um, and yeah, the emergency services, I cannot tell them or how to do their work, but we just try to make from the PV side it for them safe as well. Simple procedure basically is remove the pin, you aim the nozzle, you squeeze with your hands. You've got to reach about 10 meters, but we don't want to put this in the hands of anybody that's not trained to do so, and he must know how to look at the risks and see if it is safe to do so. So yeah, that is basically the evacuation plan in a nutshell. So I really rushed through it. There's lots that comes afterwards, but I think most of the other things is basically almost training, how to do it and how to communicate and how everything will work. But the main thing for us today was basically the DC danger zone, just to be aware of it and to be able to people think PV is green energy, it's a safe energy. It's just and it could be even more deadlier or fatal than normal AC energy. But so I really feel we've got a gap that we have to work at. So yeah, I don't know. I actually did it in half an hour, so I don't want to keep you up too late. So if there's questions and answers, I think you can open the mics or just raise a hand. I don't know. I see some of in the chat. Richard, can you also assist here quickly?
Yeah. If they raise their hand, then I can open their mic for them.
Struggling to connect. Switching.
That's an old one. So.
Okay.
I think they were just struggling to get into the.
Okay. So yeah, that's a quick. It is for us. It's very important. We try to get to a point where we can. I spoke today with a company that's got a very good app to create almost a risk score on a PV system that we can go and score. People's houses. So if it's bad, the insurance company can look at the score, and also to promote the people to become safer. All these risks, we have solutions for it, and it's not that we want to sell it really, but it's to keep it safe. I mean, your property is your property. At this stage, the only people that's taking, how can I say, the only risk people take away is to take out insurance. And insurance, if your things are correct, they might pay. At this stage, they look at the COC. We say we go beyond COC. There's best practices. And if you've got all these things in place, you really have a good place to stand and to see that you did your part. You've got all the things there. You really tried your best.
If there's any questions, people can raise their hands and I'll open the chat and Johan can answer. Or you can type it in the chat as well.
I think it's almost Chila time. So I really tried to, I thought it was going to take longer. So I'm glad I didn't want to rush through it, but I just felt it's very important to get this out. We've got other webinars coming up as well, and so yeah, this one was a bit short notice, but at least we can share it now with those who was not here. And yeah, I even forgot to put it on. I will also a digital certificate, a shield. We like to give out shields, we don't call it a safety shield, to add on, because once if everything goes good and the association goes up, these will count scores. We will go backtrack on those shields to get everybody. And I thank you for your time. But yeah.